Hi, everybody. Welcome to the soon-to-be number one Seinfeld podcast on planet Earth. Of course, this is episode 4 of Top of the Muffin.
To you! Hey, we're excited today. We have an unauthorized sponsor of the show. They don't even know they're sponsoring it. We're talking about Barron Turf and Tractor in Wichita Falls, Texas, for all your turf and tractor needs. Hey, listen, you got turf, you got to deal with it. Maybe you need a tractor. We call Barron Turf and Tractor, Wichita Falls, Texas. When you've got work to do. All right, let's get to it. What do you got for me today?
Here's what we got today. Well, episode 1, we talked about Kramer and his income. Episode 2 was the mystery of Jerry's comedy. Last episode, we talked about George Costanza in the bathroom. There's one character that we haven't gotten to yet, and I think I have a very good mystery for us today. And I am not confident at all that we will get anywhere with it because it is so confusing.
I'm already intrigued.
Of course, it's Elaine Benes.
Yes.
And her relationship with music and her history of music and what she grew up with and what she likes. And, of course, one very famous interaction with her and music.
Man, this sounds like a challenge. I already like it. Let's go.
I have right here some blank staff paper that I needed to use in preparation for this podcast. Also, I should say, I could have gone way deeper than this, but I finally had to just cut myself off and be like, all right, we're just going to do the best we have with the information we have.
You know what? We should interject here before we dive into this, that both you and I are musicians.
Yes.
And we were in the marching band. Yes, we were in the marching band together at Gatesville High School in Gatesville, Texas.
So go Hornets.
So the music, yeah, go Hornets. So the musical connection here is very deep.
Yeah, Gatesville.
Very deep. Yeah, Gatesville. So there you go. Shout out Gatesville.
I can think of no one better to bring this up with than you.
All right. I can't wait.
And I think what we'll do is actually go in chronological order of what we know of her life.
Okay.
As talked about in the show. Remember, we are only seeing a small sliver of these people's lives.
Right.
But here's what we know. In the episode of the mom and pop store, Elaine is working for Mr. Pitt, and she is picking off the salt of his pretzels. It's one of her jobs. And she's sitting at the desk. But she's listening to music, and it's big band music. And Mr. Pitt comes in, and he's like, what are you listening to? And she says, well, it's Artie Shaw, Honeysuckle Jump. And then the announcer comes on, that was Artie Shaw, Honeysuckle Jump. And he said, how do you know that? She said, well, my father had this huge collection of big band records. This is the first thing we know in chronological order. This is what she grew up with. A lot of big band music. So I bring that up because maybe it will be relevant and maybe it will be completely irrelevant.
I mean, shout out Artie Shaw, though, right?
Artie Shaw, Honeysuckle Jump.
Who under the age of like 65 knows who Artie Shaw is? Besides us, of course.
Besides, apparently Elaine Benes does.
Elaine Benes, okay.
Elaine then goes to, I bring this up because most people's musical tastes are formed in their teenage and 20s, kind of that time.
Right.
Most people, if you ask them,
formative years, yeah.
If you ask them their favorite bands, it often goes back to that time. Elaine goes to Tufts University, which was her safety school she liked to bring up, which was
you did take a deep dive. I love this. Okay.
Oh, man. Well, she went to Tufts, which is in Medford, Massachusetts, which is part of the Boston metro area. And this is where I stopped myself from going all the way down. I learned a little bit about Tufts and their college radio station and what might be. Right. But we can just think this was the 80s. So Madonna, Prince, Michael Jackson, that sort of... Anyway, so these are some of the influences she grew up with. Okay. Now we get to... the next thing in chronological order is a flashback. From the episode The Little Kicks, where Elaine dances.
Elaine dance?
Which is where... What you know about this?
Yeah.
Doing it again. Same thing last time. And I really rushed in here and threw this up today too. It's gonna.
We
fall
need to
again.
we need to up your budget for your construction.
Yeah.
His backdrop just fell on his head. For those of you listening.
Yeah, for one of the two listeners who are listening.
So comedic brilliance, by the way, is the pause when Jerry stops and does the turn when they start talking about Elaine. I mean, it's brilliant. It's brilliant comedy.
Here, I'll be George.
Yeah.
Well, there was one little nugget of entertainment. Have you ever seen Elaine dance?
Elaine danced?
It's more like a full body dry heave set to music. Which we should have brought that up.
He's shuffling the mail. Yeah. It was about 5 years ago. Anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's exactly. So you've known about this, and Jerry says, for some time. It was 5 years ago, and they're on the street, Jerry and Elaine are. And they pass 3 street musicians playing djembe, which is a West African drum.
Right.
And a guy playing a flute. With sunglasses. And then there's a guitar player. And it's the guy playing the flute with the sunglasses stops in the middle and just pulls the sunglasses down to look at Elaine. Now, we're going to come back to this, but this is the next part of the chronology we're looking at. Okay, so we have her childhood, big band music, Tufts, then the flashback. Then she is in Mr. Pitt's office talking about her big band records. So later in that episode, Mr. Pitt asks her, can you select the next song that comes on because he wants to hold Woody Woodpecker up in the Thanksgiving Day Parade or something. She immediately gets Next Stop Pottersville, but to pick it up, she has to go to this like deli with all the other winners. And I don't know if you remember, she's sitting at a table and they're all talking about which song they picked. And she's like, oh, I picked Next Stop Pottersville. And they're all like, oh, yeah, Next Stop Pottersville. But what's important about that scene is right after that, a big band is right there and starts playing. And she immediately, like, covers up because it's destroying her hearing, right? It's like a big band, which, by the way, I played in a big band, and every now and then someone who didn't know anything about big bands would put us in like a 10 by 10 room, and then we would just blast the eardrums out of everybody in that room. It was awful. So anyway,
big bands are loud.
They're extreme. Yes,
yeah.
That's right. They're big. It's a big band, and even at their quietest is quite a loud affair. Okay, so that affects her hearing. Then she's working at J. Peterman, and she has a coworker at one point who's using a hearing aid to get out of work. J. Peterman would ask him, "Hey, can you take care of this?" And be like, "I'm sorry, what?" And he'd be like, oh, never mind, Elaine, you take care of it. So eventually we think he's just using this to get out of work. Right. Later in that episode, he and Elaine go to this, I think it's opera or something, some sort of performance. And he goes to the restroom and leaves his hearing aid. Okay, so anyway, she suspects the hearing aid is fake. So she puts it in. And then the music comes on, and once again, she just freaks out because it is a real hearing aid. And so, of course, any amount of sound is going to be an incredibly dangerous decibel level pressed against your eardrums. And then we have the infamous J. Peterman party, where she is the president, and the music comes on. She says, do you want me to get started? I'll get it started. Goes out, dances to Shining Star by Earth, Wind, and Fire. By the way, great song. I mean, not only a great song, but a great let's get this party started song. That intro, I mean, it's all a oh, it's great. I mean, it just makes you want to get up and dance, which Elaine does without abandon. And of course, this is where, her dancing really grows in fame. But I want to bring up one other thing after that. Okay. Which is she's dating a guy who loves the song Desperado.
That's the one I was about to mention.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you do the You know, the guy, when he starts hearing the song Desperado, is out riding fences.
I just recall it's a blank stare.
Yeah, I guess that's not
Elaine.
good for an audio
Yeah.
podcast.
Gazing into the distance. Yeah.
What is it? Is there someone outside? Elaine, the song. Anyway, to which she says, well, I need my own song. And you
Which a woman?
Oh, which a woman. Okay, so these are the things I've noticed about Elaine in music in the totality of Seinfeld. And I'm sure there's a little bit more, but like I said, I had to cut myself off.
You're all right. You're all right.
This
Okay.
is Elaine's dance.
Stop.
If you notice at the bottom, it says,
Sweet fancy. Okay, for anybody listening,
this is the best I could do. This is Elaine's dance at the party. And then this...
Wait, what do you mean it's her dance? Like rhythmically? Like you wrote it out rhythmically?
This is Elaine's dance on the street, as far as I could. So, what I did was I watched and I took every move she made.
Yes.
Thumb, kick, twist,
Brilliant.
head back, head jerk. So I'll have like LH thumb back, RH kick, body twist
brilliant.
left, body twist right. I put down the whole thing, and then I actually wrote out, just as a single line of rhythm.
Yes.
Again, I should have put this a little more professionally so you could actually see, this a little bit better.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I said, I didn't spend the whole day on this. I spent 3/4 of one day on this. So I wasn't able to do all of it.
I want to tell you, that is brilliant.
So here's what I learned.
By the way, people listening that can't see it, it's sheet staff music, like lines of the musical staff with the rhythms written out as like notated. 8th notes, 16th notes, so that you could do the dance. Right?
Yes,
how you describe
that's exactly
it.
right. Okay, and let's see. Let me see if I can do this real quick. Bring up my little metronome app.
You know what? While you're doing that, let's remind our listeners today's episode is brought to you by Barron Turf and Tractor in Wichita Falls, Texas. For
Barron Turf and Tractor.
All your turf and tractor needs. If you've got if you're dealing with turf, or maybe you need a tractor, Barron Turf and Tractor. When you've got work to do.
When I have work to do, you know who I call? Barron Turf and Tractor.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly right.
Great people. Very knowledgeable staff.
Yes, they are. I can personally vouch.
And they really care about their product, too.
Yes, they do. We'd like to thank them for sponsoring us today.
Thank you, Barron Turf and Tractor. Okay. Shining Star by Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Okay.
Is the song at the Peterman party.
Yes.
If you look it up, it says the tempo is quarter note equals 103. I measured it at 102, but, that's pretty small. To our non-musical listeners, that means how many beats per minute the song is. So that means 102 beats per minute, which is this right here. Yeah.
The thumbs,
which is kind of a medium, it's about right here. Yeah.
Woo.
So, yes. So every time there's a clap or a woo or a thumb or a kick or a head or a twist, I notated it, and it comes out. I'm going to do my best. I haven't practiced this ahead of time. Because, again, I only spent 3/4 of one day on this.
Oh, my gosh.
But this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 measures. The third measure is blank because they cut away to reactions of the crowd. So you won't hear anything in the third measure.
Sweet, fancy measure.
All right.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to clap this rhythm. I'll give a measure of, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Sweet, fancy Moses.
Beautiful.
So,
Beautiful.
if you
That was
notice,
so good.
on that one, it's almost all on off beats. It's almost
Right.
all on the ands of beats, as we like say in music. This is syncopation. This is going to be all music stuff from here. If you are not interested in music, just tune out now. You're not going to be interested at all. As that sentence was coming out of my mouth, I was like, wow, I'm just turning this into a music. Well, anyway. The beats are 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where the strong beats are. So all of our movements are in between these beats, which is why it looks so strange and disjointed. It looks like it does not fit with the music.
Well, listen, I'm not a dancer, but I'm a musician. But the fact that it's all offbeat implies that she has absolutely zero rhythm. Right?
Well, maybe. That's one theory.
Okay.
But there's more to consider here. In fact, everything is on the offbeats, except one measure when she goes 1, clap, woo! And she does this. And that is it's a quarter note triplet is what it is. It's the first 2 out of 3. But the first 2 is just on the beat, clap, 2, 3. Just quarter notes. Clap, rest, clap, woo! Triple. Like, that's what that is. That's the only thing that comes anything close to being on the beat. Everything else is completely off the beat. Okay. Now.
This is great. This
was much harder. This is the little song they were doing because they're just playing a little jam on the sidewalk.
Oh, on the street, yes.
Yes. And this is quarter note equals 220.
Okay.
This is much faster.
Pretty fast.
Yeah, it should be about here. Yeah. All right, so 1, 2, 3. Did you notice anything different?
Some downbeats?
They're all on the strong beats. They're all on the beat on that one. Not all of them. You know, there are some answers to the beats, but look at this. Just 1, rest, 3, 4, 1, rest,
1,
3. Yeah,
3.
There's a lot of quarter notes and quarter rests in this one.
So you could make the argument that her dance movements are independent, really, of the music. Think about most people are right here, you know, with the music. Clearly, her movements are disassociative. Like they're not connected to the rhythm at all.
She just has one way of dancing. It doesn't really matter what song is going on behind it.
Right. Think about it. If she started her dancing, the one that's all off beats, if she started it half a beat sooner, it would have all been on beats. More or less,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, now, let me bring up an important point, because we were in marching band. And I'm not going to name names, but I saw this with my own eyeballs one time. In a marching band that I was in, there was a person who could not march in time.
Sure.
Wholly incapable of hearing the beat. Right, left, right, left, right. And I remember this vividly. The bass drummer was behind this person, beating the bass drum, quarter notes. And the person in charge...
Bass drums are also very loud, especially if it's right behind you.
The director said, when the bass is making sound, that's when your foot is on the ground. So, boom, 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 boom. And this poor person, even with that simplistic explanation, could not march in time. 100% incapable. Like, those wires were not ever touching. So I'm imagining that person then trying to dance.
That's exactly right. There are some people who just, it has to do with the way I think their brain just processes sound.
Right.
And they can't match up their movements with it. And similarly with tone. You know, some people have perfect pitch. Some people are tone deaf, and then there's everything in between. And some people cannot match pitch. They can hear it, but they can't like use their voice to.
Right.
Some people just don't have that connection, and
so
there's all
what we
different
have
types.
with Elaine talking about music and rhythm and dance, which is really interesting, is if you'll recall when Kramer says "you stink" or whatever he says,
That ain't dancing, Sally.
she said something along the lines of, "But I like dancing."
She
Or
says,
something like
Kramer says, what is this?
that.
And she's like, it's dancing. And he's like, that ain't dance style. She's like, I dance fine. And he goes, you stink. And then he leaves. And then she goes to Jerry.
Yes. Who's fiddling with the... Yeah.
Yes. That's my favorite move. When she goes, Jerry? And he turns around and just places his hands on the knobs of the stove and doesn't do anything. He just touches them and then brings his hand back, trying to avoid eye contact. And then she says, I'm a good dancer, right? And he says, I forgot to make my bed or something. She thinks she's a good dancer, is the point. She has complete confidence, which is why she goes out on the floor in the first place. You want me to get it started? I'll get it started. I know how to get this party, so watch this. I know what I'm doing. Goes right out into the middle and boom.
So the interesting dichotomy is that somebody who loves dancing, and I guess because of that, in a sense, loves music, is horrible and can't dance. And that's an interesting, like, what do you do if you love music and you love dancing, but you're really bad at dancing? But I would argue there's a lot of people that are like that.
Sure. Well, and if you are one of those people out there, I would say there are many ways to, practice dance. First of all, if you dance badly and you don't go out and dance badly, who cares? It's dancing.
Yeah.
You're not exactly, you're not going to give or take away the nuclear codes because of your dancing. Just go do whatever what you want to do. But if you do want to get better at dancing, there are dance classes or lessons you can take.
I've taken a dance class. Donna and I took a dance class, and it was harder than I thought. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
it was like ballroom dancing.
Right. So if that's something you're interested in, but anyway, up to this point, at least in her life, Elaine is not. I would say probably not interested.
Well, and nobody ever tells you. It's like having a boogie on your nose.
Right.
Like somebody's got to tell you. Somebody's got to tell you.
A true friend tells you.
Kramer, as we know, is painfully honest all the time.
Yes, that's right. You just need a nose job.
Yeah. Kramer. So that up to that point in her life, no one had said to her face, "You can't dance.
You stink.
You stink." So, by the way, I did have this thought just now. Just came to my head. When you write Seinfeld the musical, this is obviously a scene in the musical, right? Like a line of like 9 Elaines all.
I think we could take this and actually make it into something. We could figure it out. And in the world of jazz, you can do anything. You know, Dave Brubeck or Paul Desmond's music wrote for the Dave Brubeck course. I mean, they made a living off of Take 5 and many other odd meter songs and things that shouldn't make sense, but they made it swing.
Oh, that's a musical challenge.
So we could absolutely do something with this rhythm.
Can you make
here.
that dance into like 12/8 time? Or
well, it's funny when I put this,
17/15?
when I actually clapped it out, I was like, this is not that. I could actually hear some pops and some, and jazz is full of off the beat, little pops like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, actually, let's take a pause right quick to once again thank our sponsor for this episode.
Oh yeah.
Barron Turf and
Tractor. Wichita Falls, Texas.
For all of your turf and tractor needs.
All of them. All of them.
Not one of them. All of them.
All of them. They're fine people. They're dear friends of mine. And they sponsor a lot of things. So we'd like to thank them today for this great hat I'm wearing. Barron Turf and Tractor. Look, when you've got work to do, those are the guys to call.
They're the ones to call. Okay, I am going to get a piece of tape. I'm sick of this. I'm done with this. This is nonsense. Okay, so you brought up the point that maybe her dance moves are simply independent of the music. She just dances. I tried to find some sort of like maybe she actually appreciates it on a deeper level. Oh no, there's one other thing I need to mention. So she pulls up Witchy Woman, and if you look closely, Witchy Woman, and she introduces it to I forget his name, but the Desperado guy.
Yeah.
And she turns on. She's nodding in the car to the song, and the nodding is all on the offbeats. But she's not speeding up or slowing down. So there is a recognition of the speed in Desperado. It's not like her speed is this and the song speed is this. No, she's going with the speed of the song. She's just on all the offbeats. Same with Shining Star at the Peterman party.
Yes.
Now, if you flash way back, remember it was the first one. When she's on the street, she's way more on the beat there. Well, what happens in between those two things? Well, first, she puts in the hearing aid. No, first, she's in the tiny room with the big band. And second, she puts in the hearing aid, which could have damaged her hearing. And there's some, did you know there's a condition called auditory processing disorder?
Oh, you mean APD?
APD, yes. Sorry, you would have known it in its acronym form.
Yes.
But this can cause people to have trouble. It's what it says, trouble processing sound. Okay. Sometimes hearing delay. It usually, I think, man, if I'm not a doctor, I should say, by the way. I'm simply a music teacher.
Yeah.
I just looked this up a little bit. But processing sounds, and usually when there's a lot of noise in the room, but it can also cause like delayed processing.
Maybe I have
there
that.
Could be where she's actually, what?
So maybe I have that. Maybe. Keep going.
I got a touch of APD the other week.
Oh. I woke up with it. I caught it this morning.
But, so I tried to find anything. I tried to find any musical style that would explain this. Perhaps there was some sort of trauma that she experienced that affects her hearing. Maybe she has a hearing disorder. By the way, APD Awareness Day is April 4th, just for those out there. Want to promote Auditory Processing Disorder Awareness Day.
Awareness, yeah. I put that on my calendar.
Yes.
The first time I heard you say that, I put it on my calendar.
But really, there's nothing definitive I could find in any. You could find almost anything in the jazz world to rhythmically, because there are so many crazy rhythms in the different eras. You see, you can find something and be like, oh, maybe she learned it there. But I like your explanation a little bit. Is that she kind of just has one way, and it does. She has thumbs, kicks, body twists, head jerks to either side, clap, and woo! And that just kind of happens independently. It's just a song. She's aware of the song that's playing, but she's kind of just doing a song in her head, a version of it.
Let's dig into this for just a second, because this is good stuff. Hear me out. Corpus callosum. Do you know corpus callosum?
No.
It's the back of your brain. And now, I'm not a doctor, okay? But this is what I'm recalling.
Sure.
It's the part of your brain that connects this side to that side, okay? And it has a lot to do with the rub your belly, pat your head thing, okay?
Okay.
They've done studies that musicians, specifically, have highly, highly developed corpus callosums. I think I'm saying that right. Because when you do music, you're constantly putting left and right together. Marching, if you're a drummer, you're using your feet. Wind instruments are, and maybe not the trombone per se, but clarinet, flute. But even if you're in a marching band playing your trombone, your feet are doing something different. Musicians, highly, highly developed corpus callosum, they've done studies on this, that you can actually, it's a muscle basically. I mean, it's in your brain, but it's like you work on it and you work on it, and the more you're doing independently, that's why they do these exercises where you do different things with different fingers and that. It's all in your corpus callosum. So the point of all that is, it sounds like Elaine Benes
Elaine has a severed
has a
corpus callosum.
severed corpus callosum. It's like all the stuff she wants it to happen in a rhythmic nature, but it's physically impossible for it to happen in a rhythmic nature. That's what
Yeah.
it sounds like. And maybe that's like these people we talk about that have no rhythm. It's like those wires just have not connected. And so, but maybe she desperately wants all the rhythm, she wants all the pieces to be because she loves dancing, but she can't. Physically
She does.
impossible.
Yeah, she does enjoy it. Yeah, and she takes in the music, and you know, she grew up with music. It's a part of her
Yes.
life all through her life.
Yes, and we didn't get into her dad, which is a whole other episode, whole other story.
Yeah,
But I would
absolutely.
argue, I could take this one step further, like bird's eye view of the whole thing. All of the people, George, Kramer, Elaine, and Jerry, have a lot of interactions with music, right? And this might be
Sure.
another discussion, but they go to the maestro, right?
Absolutely, the maestro Elaine. By the way, there's a little snippet of I almost included that today. She's kind of singing along to oh, I forget what. You know, with the maestro in his car.
Yeah. And then they went to see the piano player.
George's
With the
girlfriend
Pez.
with the piano recital, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other examples.
They send the driver, they get him Metallica tickets.
Yes.
Metalla something. What? Ka. Huh? Ka. Ah.
So music is present in their lives. So that's obviously something that they circle back to. But there's most people, right? Like they enjoy music.
Sure.
But none of them, to our knowledge, play instruments. None of them sing.
Yeah, I'm not
And
aware of
remember-
any of it.
Remember when Kramer and Newman were making the sausage? And they were dancing?
Do, 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 do.
So music is ever present in their lives, right?
Not that they're
But
only
those-
making sausage, but they have a sausage making dance.
Anyway.
If
All
I
right.
ever make sausages, that's exactly how I'm going to be doing the meat grinder.
Well, how could you not dance while making sausage? Like, duh.
I mean, well,
Anyway.
let me tell you one thing. I teach music, which can be difficult. But when I need to get work done, there's only one place that I call. It's Bear and Turf and Tractor.
Yes. Please, if you're passing through Wichita Falls, Texas, make sure you stop by Bear and Turf and Tractor. They take care of all your turf and tractor needs.
The best.
You've got work to do. The best. Shout out to those guys. Anything else you want to add?
We do have some material here to work with if we want
Yes.
to go any further. Again, Peterman's Party at quarter note equals 102. And then the little street tune, quarter note equals 220. There's a few more measures in this because they move faster. In that one.
So it's Seinfeld the musical. That's like you wrote the first page of Seinfeld the musical.
I forgot there's one more thing that could have affected Elaine's hearing was when I believe Kramer's having all the menus faxed to her apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah! All right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Yes. Top of the muffin.
Until next time.
To you.
To you.
To you.